February 5th, it's 54 degrees, a little bit windy. This is the first time in almost a week that the girls have been able to come out, so they're all taking cleansing flights. Tons of them. Got some nuke 2. There's nuke 1. I'll step over here to look at the hives. A little different activity on these. Some activity. Nuke 3 or Hive 3. This one. There's a good bit of activity. Hive 2. Some activity, not a lot, and then Hive 1 has also some activity, but not a ton. Not like the nukes. The nukes must be the broadside to the sun, so they're getting warmed up pretty quickly. Got bees out here landing on me. Got the girls getting some water. I went ahead and put out some pollen sub just in case the trees were nipped back by all that frost. I just put it out, so if they want it, they haven't found it yet, or they may still be finding some natural pollen somewhere. I'll try to look at the bottom boards a little bit later and see if they're bringing in pollen. Looks like the bees are collecting the Ultra Bee pollen sub. See them packing it on their legs there. Accidentally left the shed open, and they found these dry open feeders that I had, and they found, so this is my wax melter basically. I just use the aluminum trays and then put a paper towel right here, and I'll show some pictures of that, but that's the cheapest way to do it. And then I use a piece of glass over the top of 2 medium supers, or you could probably use a deep, and just put that at an angle. I leave the bottom sort of on a brick down here, and then up here I just put it on the rabbit. I have a picture of that. I'll try to show that. The bees are everywhere though. They especially after they got in my shed there, they're kind of all trying to get back in there. Just looking at the big hives here. Hive 4, Hive 3's got a lot of activity, and 2 and 1. It's interesting how they're all slightly different when they kind of start taking their cleansing flights and stuff. I guess different amount of honey has different thermal mass, and it takes a little while for it to warm up. I'm just looking over here at the nukes. They're still quite busy. It's hard to tell if some of this is natural pollen, because they're definitely in the Ultra Bee pollen sub, but I wanted to give them a chance to have something, since the maples and stuff may have frozen in that last thing. But a couple more days of warm weather, some of the ones that weren't open probably will open up, and they'll probably stop taking that pollen sub. I was reading an article on bee culture. They're talking about OAV and repeated treatments. And they recommended about 5 days apart, and as many times as you need to get the mites down. It's very similar to what Philip Morse said at RTX Honeybees. It's getting kind of late in the winter for that to have too much of an effect. I probably should have done it earlier in the year, but I'm going to try to be on that schedule. But they also said to kind of treat later in the day when a lot of the bees are coming back, so maybe we'll have less disturbance to the bees too. As long as it's warm enough, they can not be in a cluster. It'll be okay to treat. So I may try to do every 5 days, especially this Hive 4. Its mite counts are very high, but I'll continue to count, see where we land. Just taking a look at this gap again. Starting to see it all kind of squeeze out there. I noticed the clear inner cover too starting to get lifted up, especially up here. And then that whole box is also being lifted. Propolis getting shoved in there. that inner cover also is getting pushed up pretty high. The bees did take some of that pollen down. Not a ton, but they were in it today. Just a quick video of this. I got this from Skipper Latrell at 777 Apiaries. It's a swarm trap. There's the top, and came with some screws. Came with a nail to hang it on the wall. It came with an Anel lure. It's just a little sample, but swarm lure. And then screws to screw the top on so the wind doesn't blow it off. And then a little entrance disc that goes on here so you can close them up and take them where you need to go. And then this is to hang it. I've got everything kind of apart so that I can, sorry, this is for hanging it. But I have it apart right now so that I can paint everything. Currently I just primed it so I can get ready to paint it. But it comes with 3 wedge top frames. I think that's what they can call that. Is that a wedge top? Or is that, I'm not sure what they call it. It's basically so they can build the comb directly on that. And it still has the volume inside the box big enough so that they'd be interested in it. But this part I thought was really neat. He just had 2 top bars and then stapled a piece of cardboard to it. So if they continue to build out, they'll build on this and you can still get the lid off without destroying the comb. Well, you'll still kind of destroy it when you pull it out, but you'll still be able to get a lid off at least. But I thought that was a neat idea. Yeah, they're not even top bars, they're just kind of ripped down to fit, and it covers that so that they don't attach to the lid. He said he has, I think, about 46 of these that he put out this year. But anyways, thought I'd show that. I was just priming it today. So something that I did this week in beekeeping. Decided to share. Oh yeah, and it was $40, so it's kind of hard to pass up. It's not as deep as the some of the swarm traps are, but it does have the space below the frames. And I think I calculated it out. It's actually about 50 liters. It's a little bigger than the 10 liter. But I think it may work well. And I'm not catching wild swarms. I guess if they come here, we'll take them, but this is more to put in the trees where our bees typically swarm to hopefully encourage them to just go in and not move on. But I know that that's maybe not likely, but give it a try. This is Hive 1. There's 1 mite and I think I counted 5 small hive beetles. You can see there's water in here, so there's definitely condensation in there. It made its way to the bottom board. Not a lot of mites. I'm not sure if when they're cold and clustered, they're just not grooming, so you won't see as much mite fall, but that may be a factor as well in these drops counts. Trying to look up underneath Hive 1. Not sure if I can see much of anything. Hopefully we can on the video. We'll see. Hive 2 has 3 mites and 1 small hive beetle. Again, this is looking under Hive 2. Got the tray pulled out, so I'm just trying to take a peek. A lot of bees around here, so. Hive 3 has 11 mites and 0 small hive beetles. This is looking under Hive 3. Not sure what all we're seeing. Just trying to stick my hand under here to see. But there should be some slatted racks, so I'm not sure if I see much of anything. The video will tell. This is Hive 4. They did start propolizing that from the inside, trying to get it closed up, and looks like on these warm days they just pull it back off. She's got some on her legs. She's harvesting it. Kind of see the bees on the inside there too. This is Hive 4, and they have 52 mites and 5 small hive beetles. A lot of the mites I'm seeing are very light in color, right in the edge of my shadow of my fingertip. Maybe close to that. Right there. other side. And I'm also seeing, I'm going to try to do this with my shadow. Right about there is a some sort of larvae. So something is in there, but they're taking care of it. It's pretty small. Got to be careful that we don't have small hive beetles or wax moths. But as long as they take care of them like that, our state apiarist said that they're always in the hive. Small hive beetles, wax moths, you're always going to have some sort of infestation. It's sort of an ecosystem. As long as the bees are strong enough, they'll take care of it. I'll jump into the nukes here in just a moment. Looking into hive 4. Nuke 2 has 3 mites and 5 small hive beetles. You kind of see where the line is here, where they're working the frames now. They were over here. It looks like they're moving towards the left. This is looking underneath Nuke 1. Philip Morse at RTX Honey. This is kind of what I was talking about, trying to cover this. I'd have to lift the whole hive up to get that OA treatment from underneath. Probably something I could do, but I already have some slatted racks. I think I'm just going to hold off on treating these. Their numbers are pretty low. I plan on splitting them as well, so hopefully I can get a brood break. That'll help out. And even when I do the brood break, I can do OA then once I have the slatted racks. I do like that option though. That very well could work if I put an OA wand underneath and sealed up the bottom somehow. Set it up like yours. This is Nuke 2. There are 9 mites and 1 small hive beetle. There's quite a bit of water in this as well. Noticing up here. A lot of condensation. Again, that box is a double deep. Sorry, a triple deep plus a medium. And the one on the right has a lot more condensation, so that extra medium up there could be contributing. But I think I'm going to try to get more insulation on those if I have to overwinter those again next year. Probably will. But these being 8-frame boxes, I mean there's 16 frames in there, and then above that is just insulation. There's 15 frames in there, so these are just almost the same size as the full-size hive. And then that one actually is probably bigger than the full-size hive. That's all. Everything's starting to melt from our ice storm, so bees are getting back to it and doing a lot of cleansing flights. It's starting to get to time to start seeds and like tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that for us down here. But that's all for today. This is a look under. Oh. Got a girl coming for me. Give her some space for a second. Buzz in my face there. Alright. This is a look under Nuke 2. So there's a ton of activity outside, so I'm hoping the camera can see some stuff. I wanted to add this, Bama guy had a really good question about 8 frames and having frame feeders in there in that first week. And, you know, ours pretty much filled up that 8-frame box pretty quickly. And talking about what he could possibly do. And I was thinking about maybe one of these cheaper top feeders from Amazon. Maybe a good way to go. They have 2 covers on them. You don't need this one unless you're dry feeding. So this one comes off and they climb up on this edge. They come from the inside and then climb up on that. And then this is where the sugar water goes through here. So they'll come up and get it inside of that. If you wanted to put drop sugar in there, like if you're going to feed them in the wintertime, you could put that over it so they're not coming up in that upper space. But I haven't used it like that, but that's what that other cover's for. But the thing about these is they extend down a little bit. So either you need to cut this hole a little bigger, or the bees can get up underneath that. The other option is I just have a little extra chloroplast. Stick that over the hole, and then this fits on it, and that covers the thickness of. Oh, there you go. I have some propolis on it. That takes up that thickness. Yeah, that takes up that thickness so that it's flush on the bottom. There you go. It sits down in there. But that may be a cheap way to do that. So take the frame feeder out. Maybe get one of these or two of these. There are larger ones of these, but the reason I got this size, it holds about a quart, which is pretty good. And it also fits underneath the feeder shim that I've made for the 5-frame nukes. So I made the shim just a little wider so that it fits, but it's pretty close to that size. This will require an extra box to be on top of this. And you're kind of closing off a lot of ventilation except for these holes. You'll need to consider where your notch is as well. The notch is currently down the way I'm showing it, but you may want to put that up. Yeah, it's up. Any air that's coming out here could potentially flow out here. And then put your next box, and then put your outer cover or migratory cover right directly on top of the box and seal it up. That bee looks like she's, I don't know if there's something else in here that she smells. Maybe some extra sugar, maybe some propolis. Came decided to join us, but anyways, I was thinking about that the other day. I responded to him, but this may be a better way, a cheaper way. This little looks like it's a little darker. I always put wood glue in all these joints so moisture doesn't get up in there. The bees always propolize it anyways, but if the gap's too big, there's also going to be small hive beetles and stuff that crawls in there, so I just preemptively put it on all the joints and all the end grain. And I do paint the outside edge of my inner covers because sometimes there'll be situations like this where this will be exposed to the elements with another box on top of it.